Hi, we're back with the first Ag Marketing IQ in-depth for 2026, and we again welcome Arlan Suderman. Arlan, thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be back, Pam. Happy New Year.
It's always good to have you. Happy New Year to you. And I'm looking forward to talking to you a little bit about where we're at today in regard to geopolitical impacts on ag commodities and how the Venezuelan situation changes things for us. And then from there, let's take a look at overall, how does ag move away from this China addiction? What can we do differently so that we're not constantly roiled by these things? Arlan, take it from there.
Well, as we look at Venezuela, certainly things are happening fast there. From a commodity standpoint, obviously a lot of focus on the fact that it's got the world's largest oil reserves. And so that's been much of the focus, although the infrastructure there is in disrepair. It probably take about $10 billion per year over the next 10 years for oil companies to rebuild that. They're not going to start that until they actually see stability there. And that's going to be the key, is when you remove a leader, do you get a power vacuum? And that's one reason the Trump administration has put the vice president in office, or allowed the vice president to assume the position, which would be the normal direction to go, even though she was a Maduro supporter. And hopefully build a relationship there and be able to work with her to maintain that stability there. That's critical for the ag commodities. Now, they're not a big importer of ag commodities. They do import corn, soybeans, wheat, soy meal, soy oil. They're our largest importer of U.S. soy oil this year. And so very significant impact there. Outside of that, about 1 million metric tons or so, plus or minus from year to year, of all those products combined. So not a big importer, but soy oil, it does have an impact now, getting rid of our surplus supplies while waiting for EPA to release biofuel policy. But probably the bigger implication is one you wouldn't think of, is the implications with China. And China has deep roots in Venezuela. They were getting Venezuela's oil cheap. That even though it was sanctioned, there's dark shadow ships that were hauling it to China. And so we cut off that supply. Venezuela also has a vast resource of rare earth minerals, which China has a monopoly on right now. Not only do we need those for our manufacturing sector, but also for building defense weapons and being able to defend ourselves. And China itself has taken notice of that, although it still needs to be developed and take years to do that. So China gets pulled into this. But the other thing is, social media in China has been just full of comments of people who say this gives us our path of how we can reunify, as they call it, Taiwan to the mainland. And so will China actually do that? Will they use this as an excuse and a pathway to also go in and take control of Taiwan? I don't think so, but I think the risks of that are higher now than they've been at any point to this point, particularly escalated over the holiday period when they had live fire war exercises around Taiwan and cut off its ports and everything. That is a risk. Why is that a risk? Is because if they make a move on Taiwan, the United States will have to respond, and typically that response means cut off trade of consumer goods coming here, but also of commodities flowing to China. And so while they're making purchases of soybeans, USDA has confirmed a little over 6 million metric tons. Our cash sources would indicate they've purchased about 10.5 million metric tons. So they're well on their way to that 12 million metric ton commitment for this marketing year. Will they get shipped? And that's the key right now, is making sure we maintain this relationship so that those soybeans they purchase actually get shipped and pulled from our supplies.
And, you know, I'm thinking as you're talking about this, it's kind of the broken window theory, right, of law enforcement. If you have all the windows intact, then somebody's slow to throw a rock. But once that first rock is thrown, then everyone thinks it's fair game.
Well, exactly right. And I think there's some serious questions whether China could implement the same type of precision operation in Taiwan as what we did in Venezuela. They're not battle tested on the ground in hostile territory like U.S. forces are. But same thing, I don't think Taiwan wants to be the testing ground for that. And even if they would believe that they could do it, it would still elicit a response from the United States. It would not be good for our trade.
And so it feels like the markets have kind of gotten used to these disruptions, or it's kind of built into our pricing. On the other hand, what we're looking at is increasing reliance for farmers on government and government payments, and our opportunities being disrupted when these geopolitical events happen. So how can ag commodities move away from that? How can the U.S. agriculture move away from that? Is there a path forward for a bit of separation of ag markets and government?
Yeah, the harsh reality is that we are no longer the low-cost producer of bulk commodities in the world. Brazil, where they can grow 2 to even 3 crops per year on the same ground, their cheap currency makes their products cheaper to purchase. Many of our customers have weak currencies as well. The dollar, although it's weaker than it was, still relatively strong, makes it more difficult to purchase ours. We're always going to have likely a good customer in Mexico. They're a very valued customer. We can rail it to wherever they need it, and that's an advantage. But outside of that, we need to be focusing our research dollars on value added rather than trying to compete in some of these countries against some of these countries with bulk commodities. Let's add value to those commodities and compete in that way using our technology advantage that we have here in the United States and have a product. And biofuels are one of those products. Unfortunately, right now, it's still very heavily dependent on subsidies in order to do, but maybe if we can build that out enough, we can get beyond those subsidies.
I think that's what farmers would most like, Arlan, is to be able to run their own business without being impeded by government action. And that's not something new. That's something that's been going on for at least 10 years. And you could probably make a good argument that it's been going on longer than that. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for your wise words this morning. And let's see how we can navigate these roiled waters.
Happy New Year.
Take care, Arlan. For our audience, please visit us at farmfutures.com. And remember to sign up for our marketing newsletter. Arlan is featured in there periodically. We run his comments, and we have blogs that go up every day to help farmers navigate the agricultural markets today. That's farmfutures.com. Thanks, everybody.